I am white power. Any white man that stands up is white power. I'm a white nationalist. The government has not now nor ever will crush white nationalism.
It's easy to spot a stormtrooper walking down the street in his uniform and say, ah, well, that's a Nazi, I can recognize him. It's much harder to picture the bigotry and the prejudice that exists in people who seem very much like ourselves.
I think many things that Hitler did were great, and many of those things were adopted by Franklin D. Roosevelt. I think the idea of the Waffen-SS, that was a good idea.
We know from history that we must never take them for granted, for they have caused more pain and suffering and anguish than we can possibly imagine.
This is for life and death.
Declaration of War, November 25th, 1984. It is a dark and dismal time in the history of our race. An evil shadow has fallen across our once fair land. A certain vile, alien people have taken control of our country. When the day comes, we will not ask whether you swung to the right or whether you swung to the left. We will simply swing you by the neck. This is war.
The right-wing sect which declared war on the United States government in 1984 had many names. The Brüder Schweigen, German for Silent Brotherhood, the White American Bastion, and the Order. It was a small offshoot of the Aryan Nations Church in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which was the hub of a network of racist, anti-Semitic groups across the country. They call themselves identity Christians. Their leader, Richard Butler, preaches that Caucasians are the true Israelites and that Jews and minorities are what he calls Satan's spawn. The Bible is a basic text, but so is Adolf Hitler's Mein Kampf. When several dozen of Butler's followers broke away to form the Order, they were tired of worship. They were prepared for action against what they called the Zionist Occupation Government, or ZOG. According to the FBI, this small group of only 30 members successfully counterfeited thousands of dollars on printing presses at the Aryan Nations compound, robbed armored cars and banks in California and Washington, raising nearly $5 million in the process, stockpiled arms, grenades, and dynamite, and torched a theater and a synagogue. Order members are also accused of murdering one of their own supporters and of gunning down Denver talk show host Alan Berg. Berg had angered Order members with cutting attacks on anti-Semitic rhetoric.
I'll make up the rules on my show. You want to end it right here?
I'll hang up on you if you...
Hey, Jeff, go ahead. Both of you hang up, cowards. No, he hung up too. Okay, that's it, folks. All I can say is if they think they're going to come on the air here and throw their anti-Semitic garbage uninterrupted without any challenge, that ain't the way I do business. Our number, 861-TALK.
10 Order members were tried for the June 1984 murder of Berg and for 66 other criminal acts alleged in the federal racketeering case. During the trial, former members revealed that a special order assassination squad plotted to kill the heads of 3 commercial television networks, former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, and television producer Norman Lear, among others. The unquestioned leader of the order was Bob Matthews, a well-liked lumberjack from upstate Washington. Matthews was charismatic, personally recruiting organization members and talking them into a series of bold armed robberies. After more than a year of tracking Matthews, FBI agents surrounded him in an island hideout near Seattle. During a shootout on December 6, 1984, the house caught fire. When it was over, Matthews was dead. After the fire, FBI agents launched a nationwide manhunt for Matthews' followers. In the end, 22 of them were arrested and thrown into jails near Seattle. But in spite of Matthews' death and the arrests of his supporters, agitation persists for a militant, separate Aryan nation. Order members say that the war between neo-Nazi organizations and the federal government has just begun.
I'd have to stand on my mother's shoulders to kiss Bob's ass. He's really one hell of a man. And imagine a man that would die for his beliefs. There's very few men like that today.
Bruce Carroll Pierce was the FBI's most wanted man until his arrest. He was also the Order's second in command. In an exclusive interview shortly before he and 9 other order members went on trial for racketeering, Pierce talked about his determination to continue fighting for the organization goals.
Just because Bob died, or we've had some deaths in the past, or had some setbacks, I don't believe by any means that the movement is over or that our goals will not be accomplished.
Denver police believe Pierce was the triggerman in the assassination of Alan Berg.
Did Alan Berg deserve to die?
I can't answer that.
We spoke to 3 other defendants in the racketeering case, including Andrew Barnhill, a former Baptist seminarian accused of counterfeiting and armed robbery.
And I led probably your average American boy's upbringing. I became interested in Christianity and religion when I was about 16 years old. And I started to study the Bible. I have seen my religion being persecuted in this country. We believe we need to be separate. And in order to do that, we need our own nation. The other way is simply a police state, where the government controls everybody's mind and controls the way they think, and just flat out just will not allow people to discriminate.
For most order members, religious and political beliefs led to the Aryan Nations Church and to worship of its anti-Semitic creed. Randy Dewey, an Air Force veteran now suspected of murder and multiple robberies, is still an active member of the church.
It is definitely a question of enmity between the Jewish race and the white race, which is the true Israel of the Bible. And there is, and there will be, enmity between those 2 races.
Do you believe that will mean continued violence?
That is the war in the world today. There would be no war without the Jew in the world today.
Order members admired this novel, The Turner Diaries. Written by a former college professor, it is a fictional account of an Aryan revolution in the United States.
September 16th, 1991. Today it finally began. After all these years of talking and nothing but talking, we've finally taken our first action. We are at war with the system, and it is no longer a war of words.
In the novel, Aryan warriors slaughter minorities and Jews, wiping out the populations of Israel and Africa. The book was influential with order members. Even the name of their organization was taken from it.
The reasons for the order, the reasons for beginning something like that were, we thought that the way things were going, we were losing. The tactics of the right wing for a century have been basically for someone or some group to stand up and say, hey, we're mad at you, and the powers that be just say, well, there they are. Keep your eye on them and do anything you want to them. You know where they are now.
The order was intended to be a secret army striking out at a federal government that members believed was vulnerable to armed attack.
The government's weak. The government is pathetically weak. This government is so weak right now that if 5,000 men of any race, of any consequence, any type of philosophical fundamentalism stood up, told the federal government that we have 5,000 men who would die right now, for what we believe in, the government can do nothing about it.
Do you really believe that?
You betcha.
Frank Silva, a former Ku Klux Klan chief in Los Angeles, is suspected of running a communications center through which members of the order kept in touch with one another. We tried to speak with several other members of the order, including Ronald King, but King declined to be interviewed because he feared for his life. King was the former operations manager for Brinks in San Francisco, who gave inside information about Brinks' routes and operations to other order members. King has since pled guilty to racketeering. One person in a unique position to document the creation of the order was Peter Lake, a writer from Los Angeles.
Well, they were talking to me about the order.
Lake infiltrated the Aryan Nations compound in early 1984. For several months, he played the role of a potential recruit, even videotaping organization events. At the compound, he met several men who were ready to join the order.
When people are sitting across the dinner table from you, 1 month and then the next month, you have reason to believe that they've murdered people, that they've robbed armored cars, counterfeited. It doesn't connect easily. It really doesn't.
Lake testified at the racketeering trial. His life has been threatened repeatedly. He recently found one of those threats on his telephone answering machine.
You're gonna die, motherfucker.
Do you worry about your safety?
I'm conscious of the threat, let's put it that way. I'm aware of the threat.
People are surprised at what's going on, and I think it's a situation you have to report.
Wayne King is Houston bureau chief of the New York Times. He's covered the Ku Klux Klan and other ultra-right-wing groups for more than 20 years. King sounded an alarm in 1983 after a tax protester named Gordon Call died in a fiery shootout with sheriff's deputies. Call was a member of the militant Posse Comitatus and attended services at Aryan Nations Church. When he died, Call was headed toward a paramilitary compound in Arkansas run by an organization known as the Covenant, Sword, and Arm of the Lord. The FBI later raided the compound, seizing shotguns, rifles, explosives, and 15,000 rounds of ammunition. They also arrested 4 members of the order at the compound. King wrote a series of stories probing the links between these organizations and their new potential for violence. He believes federal law enforcement agencies were slow to react.
I think the FBI and most federal agencies have had less concern about right-wing organizations that tend to be of a possibly violent nature than they have of left-wing organizations. Guys like Matthews and others declared war on what they called the ZOG, the Zionist Occupational Government. When that happened, you saw the Fed begin to scramble. When Matthews shot at a couple of federal agents, they should have tumbled to it when Call went down. I really think that they were a little bit slow off the mark. I think once they decided to go, they rolled it up pretty quick.
I think we initiated our investigations properly at the appropriate time.
Robert Gast is an assistant director of the FBI. He says the Bureau must adhere to strict guidelines in monitoring and infiltrating these groups.
Rhetoric is one thing, and that is considered protected by the First Amendment. It's overt acts. It's planning to blow up the Statue of Liberty.
It was the robbery of a Brinks truck in Ukiah, California in July 1984, when the order made off with $3.6 million that drew the FBI's full attention. As a result of several bumbling mistakes by the order, federal agents finally cracked the case. In the Ukiah robbery, Bob Matthews dropped a gun. That gun was registered to Andrew Barnhill. At the same time, Secret Service agents caught several members carelessly trying to pass counterfeit bills. After his arrest, a friend of Bob Matthews involved in the counterfeiting operation became a government informant. As order members were arrested, FBI agents were surprised by how quickly many of them, supposedly hardcore fanatics, pled guilty in exchange for lenient treatment.
When I began to hear that many of them were testifying, it disappointed me, broke my heart.
While Bruce Pierce speaks bitterly about his disappointment, we discovered that even this key order leader spilled the beans to the FBI shortly after his arrest. We obtained Pierce's statement to the FBI in the course of our investigation. This remarkable document details the murder of a movement supporter, several of the armed robberies, and the order's membership roll. Among those Pierce named were Louis Beam, the Ku Klux Klan's chieftain in Texas, and Bud Cutler, the Aryan Nation security chief who has been arrested for conspiring to decapitate a major prosecution witness in the racketeering case. The Pierce statement also outlines a series of payments made with money raised in the robberies to leaders of ultra-right groups nationwide, including Pastor Richard Butler of Aryan Nations Church. According to the document, money was also given to others who have rallied to the order's defense.
I believe that those men are prisoners of war, and I would support them as prisoners of war.
Tom Metzger is one of the most popular leaders on the ultra-right fringe. While media attention was fixed on the trial of order members in Seattle, from his home and headquarters in Fallbrook, California, an hour's drive from San Diego, Metzger continued to recruit for his organization, White American Resistance, or WAR. The days when Metzger put on his Klan hood and organized cross burnings are gone, replaced now by high-tech hatred. With his son John, Metzger now runs a nationwide computer program designed to reach young people with his ideas.
This is the time of rapid communications, and we must be on the cutting edge of technology like anyone else. We like it because it reaches into maybe every home in the United States where there's a computer. Every young person that is into computers, and there are millions across the United States, and they tend to be sharp kids with these computers in their bedroom, and they can type into our computer, log on, and get all this information.
To attract others to his program, Metzger also set up 24-hour telephone hotlines in 8 cities, including Los Angeles, Sacramento, and San Francisco.
Why are the Jews and their supporters so afraid of free speech that they try to terrorize their critics into silence? Consider the Jewish response to some who questioned the Holocaust story.
The flabby, disgusting state of white creatures who call themselves men is a disgrace to the memory of our white ancestors. If white men were strong, idealistic, and bold, this nation wouldn't have turned into the slime pit it is now. If white men became
war, white American resistance. White women must be punished for supporting daycare centers and child molesters.
Metzger also has a television talk show aired on community access cable television.
Race and Reason, that show dedicated to free speech.
Metzger is a thorn, if you will, acne on the face of San Diego society. He's an embarrassment. He is there, he is ignored, but he is not forgotten.
Morris Casuto is San Diego Regional Director of the B'nai B'rith Anti-Defamation League.
He does not run a paramilitary operation. He does not engage in urban guerrilla warfare training. He is unprepared at this point to rob banks and blow up armored cars and murder. So clearly you have to differentiate him from the order.
Although Metzger is not accused of participating in the Order's crimes, there is some evidence that he enjoyed the fruits of the Order's efforts. According to Bruce Pierce's statement to the FBI, Metzger received between $250,000 and $300,000 taken in the robberies. Reached by telephone, Metzger denied he had taken the money. Anti-Defamation League officials charged with monitoring Metzger's white American resistance are concerned that men recruited by Metzger will imitate the Order and turn from rhetoric to action. The largest war chapter statewide is in San Francisco.
Nazis in San Francisco. It is a surprising thought.
Rhonda Abrams is head of the Anti-Defamation League in San Francisco.
I don't know how violent war really will become. Inevitably, if they get away with making small actions, nonviolent actions, and not be held accountable, they may be led to greater acts of violence because they will feel a certain degree of anonymity and a certain belief that they're beyond the law.
San Francisco recently suffered a pipe bomb scare. Powerful bombs were set outside 2 synagogues, a rabbi's home, and headquarters of the Humanist Party. The bombs were wrapped in anti-Semitic leaflets denouncing Zionist Jews. Rabbi Jacob Traub of Congregation Adath Israel had 2 near misses. In July, a pipe bomb was left on the door of his temple. In mid-September, another bomb was found outside his home while he, his wife, and his daughter prepared to celebrate Rosh Hashanah. Traub emphasized that beyond a few new security measures, his activities would not be affected by bombs and threats.
I will not be intimidated by these people, and I think anyone who allows themselves to be intimidated by these people are playing into their hands and are just giving into the terrible terror of this generation, and that is the sickness of the 80s, terror.
The FBI arrested Coy Ray Phelps, a longtime white supremacist from San Francisco, for setting the bombs. Still, the Anti-Defamation League believes that organizations such as WAR bear some of the blame, even if they are not directly responsible.
They help create an atmosphere in which some people feel emboldened to do these kinds of activities.
In a telephone conversation, the leader of the San Francisco chapter of White American Resistance, a man who goes by the name Chuck Miller, denied that WAR was to blame for the pipe bombs. But Miller also made it clear that WAR had no basic quarrel with violent attacks on Jews. Miller said, This is the kind of violence we least support because it brings bad publicity without accomplishing much. There's a difference between these activities and the way the order accomplished things. Miller declined to be interviewed on camera. One Northern California War member who did agree to talk with us is Bob Spittler, a Marine diver and boat repairman from Vallejo. He's also the leader of his own small group, the Aryan Renaissance Command, and he makes no secret of his Nazi orientation.
The philosophy of Nazism is unknown to most people. You can't go into a library and find a copy of Mein Kampf. You can't even find a copy of Henry Ford's International Jew. So how are the people going to know what Nazism is?
His own conversion to Nazism was a combination of personal experience and sharp reactions to current events.
I've seen what's happened to this country. I was in Vietnam. And I was a victim of the criminally mismanaged economy that this country is subjected to. And I want to get back at it, and this is the only way I know for right now to do it.
Spittler believes that the example set by the order helps recruit others into white American resistance.
They represent a symbol that we can aspire to. They did demonstrate that things can be done, that you can prove the United States government to be yellow.
What about the murder of Berg?
I'm sorry I didn't do it myself. Why? I'll tell you why. Because I don't think a JDL goon with a machine gun would hesitate to do me the same way Berg was done.
You're saying that Alan Berg was a JDL?
No.
So why did he deserve what he got?
Probably because of misrepresentation of the public.
If all of us had the right to kill those who we thought were misrepresenting things, we'd be a nation of dead people, wouldn't we?
Probably. I think we would. No,
so how does that square?
I don't have a pat answer for that. You see, one of the Jewish tenets is an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Now, they've been taking our eyes and our teeth for an awful lot of centuries. So, they're getting a taste of their own medicine.
Even for those who follow the ultra-right closely, the origin of this hatred remains largely a mystery. Part of the answer is simple frustration.
I think it's a shared frustration, that the frustrations build on each other, and they realize that they are, they gives voice to some dark access of their heart.
A kind of scapegoatism, a kind of paranoia, a belief that things are not going right for me. I'm a white American. I don't have a job. I don't have this. I don't have that. Somebody's got to be responsible, so it must be whoever. It must be the Mexicans. It must be the blacks. It must be the Jews.
There is no question that the white power movement has shifted into a new phase. Gone are the days of what Wayne King refers to as service station racism. Those public marches, cross-burnings, and open race baiting through which the ultra-right hope to win over the majority of the white population. Increasingly, small cells of neo-Nazis are prepared to carry out dramatic actions, even less concerned than before with public image.
We never hired a public relations firm to represent us, and I don't think we're too concerned about what people think. Our actions were not to please the people or the mass. We still do, and we have goals we want to accomplish. And so you can't please people by accomplishing your goals.
The irony of organizations like the Brotherhood is that they reflect failure and not success. They have failed to convince any large numbers of the American people of the correctness of their course, of the correctness of their hatred. These terrorist organizations pose a real physical threat to the well-being of American society, and yet their very existence is a reflection of frustration and failure.
Law enforcement sources estimate that there are between 5,000 and 10,000 supporters of identity Christian and neo-Nazi beliefs in the country. Anti-Defamation League researchers say there are only 500 neo-Nazi activists nationwide. But those active neo-Nazis are increasingly inbred and isolated, increasingly terrified by the shape of modern America.
In a sense, they are smaller but more dangerous. They're hotter. They're going to be harder to penetrate.
I think it would be foolhardy to say that we have eliminated white hate groups in this country at all. I think we've done a pretty good job against the order. Another group will probably rise from the ashes, so to speak.
When FBI agents moved in on the order, members were within a few weeks of cracking Brink's Central Vault here in San Francisco. With more than $30 million they hoped to rip off at Brink's, they could have bought and outfitted an army. The danger now is that as other groups imitate the order, they pose new threats of more robberies, more counterfeiting, and more killing. These groups are not about to simply fade away.
I need my own state. I need my own nation. I need to have my own schools for my daughter, for my son, for my family.
When Nero tried to persecute the Christians in the Romans' times, it did not eradicate them. And I do not believe it will eradicate us.
Just a few will be enough to reignite the spark for us to rise again. It's not over by any means. It's just a start.
We enjoin all people to choose intelligently which side they will be on. Make sure that you have the greatest number of relevant facts possible. There will surely come a day when fence sitting will be impossible. And once you have made up your mind and begin to act, the die is cast for you. There will be no turning back. With these things said, let the battle begin.
I'm just an aging drummer boy, and in the wars I used to play, and I've called a tune to many a torture session. Now they say I am a war criminal, and I'm fading away. Father, please hear my confession. I have legalized robbery, called it belief. I have a run with the money, I have a hit like a thief. Rewritten history with my armies and my crooks. Invented memories. I did burn all the books, and I can still hear his laughter, and I can still hear his song. The man's too big, the man's too strong.